Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Alpha X Pro Replay Cast, where we bring you the hottest games of yesterday, today. This is the OlimoLeague 207 Grand Finals, and without further ado, let's introduce the players who will be fighting for our entertainment. Spawning in the top position of Oxide, he is Trap. And his opponent, down here in the bottom, he is BYUN. Now this is going to be an exciting series because, quite frankly, these two are some of the most storied players in SC2. Trap, while Protoss has been having a little bit of issue in the coming year, versus Terran especially, Trap has been the one who's been holding down the fort, fighting his little heart out to make sure that Protoss is still as feared as yesteryear, but he is going up against a very aggressive, very strong Terran in BYUN, who has recently completed his military service and is back for our entertainment to do things like throwing down an engineering bay right on the natural of Trap. And that's one of the things about BYUN. He's a very aggressive player. He can tear you down in the mid game, or he can take you all the way to the late game. He just has amazing control that's really hard to beat. But if anyone can do it, it's Trap. PvT is one of Trap's best matchups overall, and he's really done some amazing strategies that have really just frustrated Terran players all over the world. And you can see this is one of them right here. He's throwing down a proxy pylon location, and from there, there's quite a few options that he can do. Twilight Council, which is a little bit less gas, which could easily just lead into DTs or even just trying to hide a blink play. Or you can also throw down that Stargate and just get in there very quickly with some aggressive pressure. Now, BYUN, on the other hand, is going to be doing a little bit of aggression on his own, based off with the reactor and factory build positions. You can see that he's probably going to be going for Hellions to start things off. And recently, BYUN has been favoring those kind of early Hellion pressures, usually following them up with Widow Mines as well. They've just been very solid in getting in there and doing that early damage, disrupting the Protoss economy. Now, Trap has decided to go for the Stargate play, so that is going to be some quick damage, but hopefully he doesn't get caught too far out of position with those Oracles, because those are very good in the mid game as well, so you don't want to lose them to a wayward Widow Mine. Now, BYUN, hunting down the Adept for right now, has to be careful here because he's not going to be making too many more Hellions after the first 4. So every Hellion that he loses is just less damage that he can really go for. Now, Trap being very aggressive with his first couple of Adepts, losing the first one, but it looks like the second one just wants to jump up and finish up the damage, getting 2 of those Hellions for the cost of only 2 Adepts. Is that the best trade for Trap? Probably not, just because now you do have a little bit less at home to deal with this. He is pumping out quite a few more Adepts, however, and the first Oracle is going to start heading for the main base, but BYUN is already going to start going in there for that damage. One of the Hellions going down before any damage can be done, but he starts to get that lineup, and 5 probes going down. That is an excellent start for our blue Terran friend. One of them is going to be burrowed into the main base as well, just to try and prevent that Oracle from getting too much. Has expended a lot of its energy, actually, just to kind of fly around here, and wasted a lot of it on the Widow Mines, as the Hellions do get cleaned up on the other side of the map. Now, behind all of this, BYUN has loaded up that medevac with those Widow Mines for the follow-up. He's also got a Viking, probably just to play it a bit safer versus these Oracles. He wants to make sure he doesn't lose too much damage. But, you know, Trap is actually already countering this a little bit. He's got the Phoenix in position to defend, and he's going to want to lift up on those Widow Mines here, but the first couple of Widow Mines do drop. So you do have to be careful here. First couple of shots going off here. Revelations as well. So far, BYUN not able to really get the damage done that he would like, even though he did kill off one of those Adepts. Those are the kind of hits that he really wants if he's going to keep this game rolling in his favor. Now, behind all of this, BYUN is gearing up for a pretty typical push here. He's got the siege tanks as well as the Marines in production, even adding on the second and third barracks. Still does not have stim, by the way. He has not created that first tech lab, so any kind of push he does will be a little bit delayed by that if he is waiting for stim. It looks like we do have as well that Liberator and the Viking gearing up for a bit more harassment damage, as Trap is going to be out of position. He's going straight for the jugular and going to be looking to kill BYUN with this attack. Now BYUN, this is the first time he's seeing this coming. He can't drop the wall in time. Siege tanks gonna get a couple of good shots off. Trap not lifting up the factory units here, but all of the Marines are now dead. So BYUN has to pull all the SCVs to defend this, and he is already losing quite a bit of economy and mining time with this. He does kill off the Adepts, however, and now the Oracles starting to run a little bit low on juice back in the Trap's third base. We've got the Viking dropped as well. The Liberator did get taken out, I believe, but now the Oracle is really low on energy, so he will have to back up, and Trap has to retreat from here. BYUN, however, is still going strong with this Viking. This is some amazing damage for just one guy here, getting 14 probes with just one Viking. That is the kind of trade that you always want to see. Now it looks like Trap is really having to respond here, as at this point in the game, you do not want to be equal in workers with your Terran opponent. So he's just sending those across, and the Widow Mine's actually just going to start splashing down, getting a lot of damage done on these Phoenix, limiting their availability for further attacks. Looks like Trap's not completely done just yet as well. He has those Stalkers in position to really just kind of examine when the attack is going to be moving out. So he has plenty of time to kind of react to this. Unfortunately, he did spend quite a bit of gas early on with those Phoenix, so he doesn't have Blink just yet. He doesn't have +1 upgrades just yet. They're still in production. So now that's not a really good position to be in here, especially with BYUN having almost doubled the army supply. First Widow Mine going to go down here, and this is kind of the point where BYUN says he wants to push in. Unfortunately, he's fighting out of range of those siege tanks, so he is going to have to back up there. A little bit of a misplay. Going to lose quite a few units. Widow Mines, however, going to make this fight completely worth it for him. And now we just see that patented blue trickle come across the map here from BYUN, looking to keep this push and aggression going and forcing Trap to respond. So there's still quite a bit of Marauder energy with this. The Phoenix just finally now able to lift them up because there are no more Marines. Reinforcements going to start trickling in as well. So BYUN going to keep the push going. And this is just so difficult for Trap to deal with here. He needs a few more warp-ins and charge in order to really effectively deal with this. BYUN just really getting some nice pickoffs there. Getting a couple of Stalkers every time he jumps forward. But now we got a couple of slow Zealots. trying to bait those Widowmine shots, and that's essentially all they're there for. We don't have an armory, so the second they fire their shot, they are visible, but great micro hit from BYUN. Gonna save those Marauders for as long as possible. And that was good as well. Just kind of baiting the shot into BYUN's own units, but still, there is just so much. Trap really just struggling to react to this and really just unable to push it back efficiently. BYUN going to be opening up that second attack path as well, so now he can kind of rotate in between and cut the units off from their own natural, which means that the possibility of reinforcements is a little bit more limited in that regard. But here we go, the Zealots getting taken down before they can really gauge into this. BYUN feels like he has enough to move forward here. The force field's going to cut off some of these units, so he will have to retreat. But he is still rallying heavily into this. War Prism as well took a Widowmine hit of his own, just taking one for the team. But now comes the position where Trap is starting to push this back. Unfortunately, there's still so much Terran here. And now with an armory, these Widowmines are so much more difficult to deal with. There is no observer to deal with these. Getting a couple of workers as well as that Zealot. So even just finding little more bits of damage and able to kind of regroup his army now. Taking a look at that army size, it is just heavily in the blue. So BYUN really doesn't want to give Trap any more time. He's going to try and kill him here and now with what he has. Going straight for that third base. I think at this point, Trap might just need to abandon that. It wouldn't be the best situation for him here, but I don't know how he can really defend it, especially now losing the Observer. That is going to be tricky to remake when you need Immortals and other heavy-hitting units here, but there's just no AoE. No Storm, no Colossus, no heavy-hitting units. And I think with the probes being pulled here, this is going to be it for Trap in game number 1. And there you have it, BYUN taking the first game. And we'll be right back with the second. And we are back for game number 2 here on Lightshade Ellie. After an exciting first bout, up here in the top position, this guy has taken the lead. He is BYUN. But he faces a powerful opponent down here as the blue Protoss, introducing Trap. Now, Trap had a lot of the right ideas in this game, but the thing is, BYUN was just able to get that damage rolling and keep it moving very quickly. He never really gave Trap the room to breathe, and unfortunately for Trap, he tried a little bit too hard to make that attack work, losing all of his Adepts and even a couple of the Phoenix as well. It certainly did not help in defending the later stages of the game. Now we do have a couple of cheeky units coming on out. We have, looks like Trap mostly just scouting for a proxy, but over here, BYUN is going to once again be doing one of his patented Engineering Bay blocks. While he hasn't invented this build, he has essentially perfected it, using it against the Protoss to delay their income a little bit, as well as kind of just slow them down in terms of that expansion. Now Trap, however, is just getting a pretty good scout around. He just wants to make sure that nothing too crazy is going to be coming out of BYUN early on. Wants to make sure that he can count the buildings. He wants to make sure that there's not a second gas, which will really just kind of speed things up. And And, you know, he doesn't see that this is indeed just going to be a 1 Marine straight into factory reactor timing. So once again, Hellions are going to be on the production tab, as the probe has scouted his last base. So a couple of things that Trap can do a little bit differently in order to kind of keep himself safer. Now that he's seen that it's reactor, he really just needs to keep a few units here to block the Hellions in and refuse to allow them to enter. BYUN can just lift them into the main base, but that's one of the risks that you have to take. Because if those Hellions do get in, it's just so much damage done. It's going to force him as well, I believe, to throw down a couple of extra shield batteries, just to play it completely safe. Behind this, we don't have the starboard coming up just yet, as that is going to be a little bit more delayed so that he can get out that second CC. Because as much damage as he can do in the early game with it, if you're 1 base down, you're going to really be hurting for that income. Now, there we go. He's going to be adding in the Widow Mines as well. Playing it a lot safer with the Hellions this time, I must say. Remember, in the last game, the Adepts actually were able to kill off a couple of these, and it really just takes 3 shots to deal with probes. So you need all 4 of these alive in order to make it worth it. But here we go. BYUN gonna try and break the wall off, but there are currently 3 Adepts just helping out. He sees the Stargate has been pumping out some Phoenix. So now he knows he has to be a little bit more careful with them. He doesn't want to get those lifted and picked off. Behind this, we see Trap going straight into the Robo facility as well, so he's not going to invest too heavily in the Phoenix. He's just probably going to go up to about 4 or 5, and what you can do with that is you can play it safe as well as get some little bit of harassment damage done. But here we go. This is one of BYUN's worst nightmares here, losing his Hellions for free, as there is still plenty of energy for the lift-ups. But BYUN not really paying attention to that. He's got the Widow Mines dropping a little bit of a later pull, but they will get out of there in time. Lift-up's going to be popping off one of those Widow Mines as well. Only getting 2 workers here, and I think the medevac might actually go down as well. Now that was a very heavy gas gamble there for BYUN. That's like 100 gas for the medevacs, as well as like 25 per the Widow Mines, excuse me. And with that, you know, he's only got 2 gas geysers. BYUN, once again, it looks like he's starting to gear up for a similar timing to last game as well. He's got 1 siege tank this time only, so it wouldn't be as huge of a push, but with Stim, with +1 on the way, there's still so much potential for damage here. But it looks like Trap, once again, going to be going for this very aggressive Adept Phoenix play in trying to break his opponent. BYUN able to kill off the Observer as well as keep the wall lifted, but the siege tank will fall, not before getting some amazing hits off, and the Adepts have to shade on out of there. He will only save about 2 of them, with 1 actually going down to the Widow Mine beforehand. Phoenix do come in and are able to kill off one of the Marauders, but not too much else going for him there, as there are missile turrets in position. So now he's going to just fly around with these, hopefully catch a few of these Marines and the reinforcements for the push. And I think that's kind of the biggest way to slow BYUN down, to stop this kind of aggression that we see out of him. You need to essentially pick off the trickling reinforcements as you're weakening the frontal push. If you can't do that, then BYUN is just going to continuously try to knock your teeth in, regardless of what you try and do. Now, I do like this a little bit here. He's gonna divide the forces of Trap with how he's gonna drop in the main base, as well as try and poke the third as much as possible. The Phoenix actually not in position either, so he's gonna lose a couple of those as they're trying to lift up to no avail. But now the tech of Trap is under fire here. BYUN just kind of poking for right now. He's finally got the siege tanks lifted into siege position here. The one Colossus gonna try and defend here, but the Phoenix starting to get picked off while they're trying to lift this. And it looks like BYUN, he may start to get cleaned up here, but he still has a little bit in the main base with that Widow Mine. Okay, so not the best couple of engagements for BYUN, unfortunately. He did lose one of those medevacs full of units. And now he is going to have to get on out of there without getting too much more done. Recollecting his forces, however, he's still trying to kind of be in Trap's side with the drop. The Phoenix going to chase that down a bit, although Widowmine actually takes one out. But this is all just a distraction to keep Trap away from his third base. And now here we go once again. Trap gonna block a lot of his own zealots with these force fields. He's popped the shield battery as well, a little bit prematurely here. So now BYUN is kind of just back up from this a little bit, and he does lose the siege tank. So that is a lot of firepower gone, but he does have a few more reinforcements trickling in. Trap, I think, is doing a fantastic job of just kind of deflecting the blows from BYUN in this game. He hasn't taken that early game damage, which put him so far behind. Instead, he's really been able to get up to that third base almost unabated. But this is kind of BYUN. He never gives up. The second he starts to push, it just doesn't stop. And especially if he can pick off a couple of Phoenix there, that was really nice. Any amount of Phoenix that you lose is just going to limit your availability for the pickups on those siege tanks. Looks like Trap, however, does not want to allow him to get into a good position on the high ground. Going to try and jump straight on top of them. A little bit of a good focus fire there for the Phoenix. But there is still so much tear in here. The Marauders getting straight on top of the Colossus. The second one will fall, and with that, it is going to be another BYUN victory. So BYUN taking a very heavy lead in this first couple of games. He's up to match point, and we will see the exciting conclusion coming up right after this. And it's game 3 time, ladies and gentlemen. This guy up here in the top, he's down, but he is certainly not out. He needs your energy. Give it up for Trap. And his opponent down here in the bottom, looking to close things out in a clean sweep. He is BYUN. So BYUN, you know, there are two real big Terran players that came back from military service recently. Him and Dream. Dream is like an exceptional player as well. I think Trap actually had to take him out in the semifinals to get to this point versus BYUN. But really, you know, Dream is a solid player. BYUN, however, is playing on an entirely different level in this tournament, taking down literally everyone, only losing one game to Patience in his tournament run this time. And just overall showing why he is such a strong and steady player even after having to spend that 2 years away from the game that he loves. Now, once again, he is going to get the engineering bay off for a three-peat. Trap really just not overreacting to this a lot. He's just pulling down those probes and kind of focusing it down without getting that early zealot, which can kind of slow your economy down a little bit. And yeah, when it's that low, you really don't need to get that early zealot. Now, once again, we do see the reactor being dropped. And BYUN kind of just scanning around, trying to make sure that his opponent hasn't kind of dropped any proxies out on the map. Just playing it really safe in that regard. And it does look like he may actually be dropping a little bit of pressure himself here. We might actually see a starport going down based off where this lone SCV is going. Yeah, there you go. So what this does tell me is that once again we are going to be seeing those Hellions, but this time BYUN is just going to go straight for the main base with them dropping that medevac in there and trying to get those lineups, which can do absolutely decimating damage to him. Now, Trap, to his credit, he's got the Stargate already up, so if he can get a couple of Phoenix out before this hits, he's going to be in a much better position because he will be able to clean that up. But I think BYUN is just really going for broke with this one. He just doesn't feel like he can get in there from the front, and you can even see Trap blocking the natural, knowing that it's going to be Hellions once again. BYUN's signature style right now. He's really adapted to this meta in utilizing them. Phoenix gonna catch this at the very last second. Trap a little bit sleepy there, not gonna be able to clean this up, but already 5 workers going down and even more starting to fall. This is the damage that BYUN was looking for. 9 probes going down. The shield battery is almost out of energy as well, so if he can keep this Hellion alive, he might get 1 or 2 more. But finally, Trap does clean this up. Still, amazing play there from BYUN. Gets plenty of damage in the early game, and this is where it can start to snowball for him if Trap is not careful. Now, Trap once again is looking to kind of go for this adept timing build with the Phoenix. This one's going to be hitting a little bit faster than his previous ones with a few less units, but you know, there's no siege tanks this time. There's only a Cyclone to deal with the Phoenix, so we'll have to see, can he get anything done this time? So far, the answer is no. Now, Trap going to be coming in here, getting a couple of those SCVs as well. That's kind of really the first time he's been able to get damage done with the Phoenix in this series. He's been primarily using them to lift up the siege tanks and slowing down the push. Even going to get a nice pickoff right there with those Cyclones. Unfortunately, this guy, oh no, this guy's out on the bad side of town. And he'll start to get cleaned up before his brother tries to save him. Now BYUN on the attack path once again. And there's not a ton back at home here for Trap either. Stim, though, is not complete, so this is completely stimless timing. Great move by Trap. Going to use the Phoenix to pick off the reinforcements. Although now they are completely out of position for this Liberator. So this is going to be a little bit dicey for him here as BYUN going to look to hit to kind of delay until that Liberator is going in. The shield battery in the front going to save the Phoenix 4 right now, or the Stalker rather, as the Liberator getting 5 kills and forcing that defensive Stalker warp in. I think BYUN is doing this really well in terms of he's keeping his reinforcements back instead of kind of trickling them across the map, because he's recognized that Trap is going to try and kill off small amounts of units as much as possible. Although getting a few nice pickoffs here is Trap with those Phoenix. Going to get the Cyclones. Really would like to get the siege tanks here, though. Those are kind of the money unit for him to kill. I feel like one problem Trap has been having in this series is that he's really been out on the map very aggressive, but he just hasn't really been able to reinforce his positions. He hasn't really been able to kind of keep these attacks strong. So he's just getting picked off in the middle of the map, especially when BYUN has been going for these very aggressive pushes here. So I'm really worried about the positioning here for Trap, because that is a lot of units here for BYUN. Forcing the siege up. This is going to buy Trap time to kind of retreat to the high ground here. He's just trying to slow down this push. He doesn't want to really engage here if he can avoid it. But already nice pickoffs on the Marines, just trying to whittle that number down. But now BYUN is on the high ground. This is going to make it a little bit dicier for him. We don't have charge and we don't have blink. We don't even have a Twilight Council at this point. So it's really down to what Trap has right now. Slow Zealots, blinkless Stalkers, and a couple of Colossus wailing away in the back. But already, this is looking dicey for him. As the Immortals start to fall, those Colossus are completely exposed now. Now BYUN just able to absolutely wail away in this position. The shield battery has been popped, so that's going to keep those Colossus live for as long as possible. But there is just too much firepower with this army. Straight on top of the Colossus, probes being pulled, and that is going to be it. BYUN takes a very clean 3-game sweep of this series, and this is how he won the OlimoLeague 207. I'd like to thank you all for tuning into this replay cast, and make sure that you check out all the amazing content that Alpha X is going to be bringing out both on YouTube and their Twitch stream. All the information can be found down in the description below. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we will see you at the next big event.